Katie on the couch. It's Katie on the couch.
Hi, welcome to Katie on the Couch. I'm Katie Nicole, and here on my couch, we talk to people from all walks of life about confidence, body image, self-esteem, and provide tips and insights from their experience to give to you. So take a cuppa and enjoy. Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Katie on the Couch, where we talk about all things self-love, self-confidence, and of course, believing in yourself. And of course, sometimes recovery. And it's really important today we have somebody on here from all the way from Portland, Maine in the USA, which I'm pretty excited about. She is the founder of an Instagram page and website called Love My Middle. She's recovered from anorexia and has an amazing story. I've followed her on Instagram for quite a while. She has 12,500 followers on Instagram. She's getting married in August, which is very exciting. She's got 2 little kittens, and she's blogging, she travels, she loves the outdoors, she's a business owner, she's planning to do a podcast of her own. So maybe one day we will exchange the favour and I will be on her podcast. And just a bit of an interesting fact about Rachel, actually, she is scared of flour. So we're going to find out about having a bit of a conversation around what that. But please welcome to Katie's Couch today, Rachel Worthing. Hi, Rachel.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm really good. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're so welcome.
Happy to be here.
Tell me, what brings you here? You're in Portland, Maine, aren't you? I got that right, didn't I?
Yeah, from Portland.
Yeah, wow. Tell me, what brings you here to the show today?
Just to talk about like eating disorder recovery and confidence and everything like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've been following your story on Instagram for a little while now. Ever since sort of I got into the Instagram world, I found you and I found your page, and it's Love My Middle. Do you want to share a bit about your story, about your journey, about how you got to a point where you began to love yourself?
Yeah, so when I was 13, I got diagnosed with anorexia, and I dealt with that for about like a year and a half, and I recovered and was doing well. And then eventually I ended up developing binge eating disorder.
Oh.
And I struggled with that throughout high school, and just like really struggled with accepting myself and my body and like feeling confident. And that went on for like a couple years, and then eventually I got into like healthy eating, and to try to, deal with like the binge eating, I started focusing on my health and whatever. And I was feeling a lot better. And then I ended up like slipping back into anorexia again. And I dealt with that for probably about like 5 years before I realized that I was dealing with anorexia again. Yeah. And so then once I realized that, I started recovery. And then since then, I've just been just really focusing on that and like building confidence. Now I started my blog and my Instagram to just like help other people who might have an eating disorder or who are just struggling with like body confidence and feeling good about themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. What I was noticing about, you sharing about your story, that you have sort of gotten to that point where you are, okay, well, I'm going to make health a priority. And making health a priority in some shape or form, I'm really curious to know, it triggered the anorexia again. Can you tell me how that happened? Because I've had something similar happen where I made health my focus, but that required me to, in the world that we live in, to count calories, and that required me to count carbs and count fat and assess over exercise. So I got to the point where the behavior, I'm recovered bulimic, so I got to the point where it just controlled me anyway. It's like I found another way to obsess around the numbers.
Yeah. That definitely happened to me too. At first it was just like, going gluten-free and like eating more of a whole foods diet, and that was great. And then I started getting some weird like reactions. I started like getting joint pain and stuff, and I started to think, oh, like, what's causing this? And I started doing research, and I looked up that, oh, nightshade vegetables might cause joint pain, things like tomatoes. So I cut those out, and I noticed I felt better for a little while, and then the pain came back. So then I cut something else out, and it was just like a downward spiral from there. I just kept cutting things out, thinking like I would be healthier, and then before I knew it, I wasn't eating too many foods at all.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was just like obsessed with being healthy like all the time to the point where like I wouldn't like go out even like at night. I wasn't really socializing because I was like, oh, I need my sleep, I need to take care of myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely took it to an extreme.
Yeah, it's such an interesting thing. I think that, there's all these exclusions. When you've suffered from eating disorders, there's, the control around our food or around our exercise can be some of the, the main drivers. It's the control. So for me,
Yeah.
it was very much like, when I got healthy, all of a sudden now I'm excluding a whole bunch of food from my diet. I'm not allowed to, or I'm not going to because of whatever. And you're right, the downward spiral just tends to happen because of the very nature of it. It's almost a diet, because then we have all these rules that we have to abide by.
Yeah. I've now started I like to think of health like in a different way now, instead of like excluding, but think of like what you're including. So instead of saying like I'm not allowed to eat like cake or donuts or something, be like I am going to eat a lot of vegetables. So instead of like thinking about what you're taking out, just like focus like on what all the good things that you can like that are good for you, that you just want to eat an abundance of.
Yes, so true. And I also find that, what you were saying before, that if we only think about our health one-dimensionally, when it's only just our physical health, we tend to run into trouble, because like you not socializing, you're not looking after your emotional health by connecting with people and being in part of a community. If you're not looking after your emotional or mental health, then what's the point of having physical health?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was a big issue for me. That's something I'm still working on, and I've been like going out like so much more lately, and like it makes a huge difference, like because you're just happier. And when you're out socializing and spending time with like people you love, you're not thinking about food and things like that. You're just being present and living in the moment, and that can be really healing and healthy for your body, just as much as like eating foods high in vitamins.
I 100% agree. I think that if you're going to eat so restrictively, well, not restrictively, not the right word. If you're going to eat a certain way, but you're really stressed about it, then that's going to do you way worse than eating not so well, but being relaxed about it.
Yeah, I agree.
The mental component of our physical health is significant.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
the routine you started, was when you were first diagnosed with anorexia. You've obviously, you recovered, you were okay, then binge eating, and then back to kind of anorexia. What was how's the recovery process been? What have you done in order to help yourself to recover?
Well, what I started doing was like, I don't do this so much anymore because I don't need to as much anymore. But what I did was like, I went through like my Instagram, and I stopped following like anyone that I was like comparing myself to. So that helped a lot. I started listening to like podcasts about eating disorder recovery, like constantly, like all day long, nonstop. I just like hardwired it into my brain, and like just hearing those same messages repeated in my ear over and over all day, like eventually it starts to like click. And then I started therapy, which helped a lot. And I also like told everyone. That was a big thing because I hadn't told anyone about it. about the eating disorder. And so I like came out of the closet with my eating disorder, and I told everyone. And that was extremely helpful, because once people know, you can't hide it anymore, and it kind of like pushes you into recovery because you have people holding you accountable.
Yeah. And you realize how many people, I suppose, love you and care about you, and how there's far less judgment than what perhaps you anticipated there to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So therapy, definitely podcasting. So I take it there was a whole bunch of personal development there as well, where you've gone, you know what, I'm just going to immerse myself in different thoughts.
Yeah, I did a lot of like reading of self-help books. I started meditating, doing like visualizations every morning, like of me in the future being like happy and healthy. Yeah, like I completely had to change my mindset, like 100%.
Yeah, because it sort of, and please tell me, because I'm not experienced with anorexia, but certainly, you know, eating disorders in general, it's this feeling of no self-worth. Like I don't love myself enough in order to be, I'm not worthy. So therefore there's this complication in terms of the way that food's just the way that we happen to have dealt with the lack of worth.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I felt like I was never like good enough always. And then I would like equate that to my weight though, and like, oh, okay, well, the less I weigh, like the better I feel about myself.
Yeah. And then did you get to a point where, you know, and obviously this is part of the disease, you keep going, well, at however many kilos or pounds, I'm going to feel good about myself. But then you get to there and you don't. How did you, then do you just keep going? That's the downward spiral, isn't it?
Yeah. So that happened especially with the first round of anorexia when I was 13. That like, I feel like if I hadn't gotten the help when I did at that point, I would have kept going and going and going until there was like nothing left of me, because I did not feel satisfied at any point. However, the second time around when I had anorexia, more recent time, that was a little bit different, where I didn't feel like, I actually got to a point where I like was like, okay, I'm thin enough. Like it was too thin, it was underweight and everything. But like I saw, like I wasn't, I guess my brain wasn't as in bad of a spot maybe as it was the first time I had anorexia, because I could see like, okay, like this is a little too much. Like I'm thin, I don't need to get any smaller.
Yeah,
but I was also in denial that I didn't even realize I had the eating disorder the second time around either. So that might have been part of it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So there was less, there was kind of almost less awareness of the disease, but more awareness of yourself. So you were able to just get clearer.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's really good way to word it. But yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, nice. Okay. And then somewhere in between that, there was also the binge eating stuff.
Yeah.
Was that kind of like a bounce back? Like how did that come about, do you think?
Yeah, you know, I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Like, what triggered that? I don't know. Like, I recovered from anorexia, and it was about like, I would say about like a year, maybe not even, before I like started having binging problems. And I think it was like a combination of things. Like I had moved out of state, so I was living in a new state, and like had to make all new friends and everything. And you know, I was young, and it wasn't like I didn't have friends. So like I was pretty happy. Like I was pretty happy with the move. Like, but I think maybe part of that triggered it, just like the change. And then I also started on hormonal birth control pill, and I really honestly feel like that had a lot to do with it. Because it just like can totally mess your body up. And I think that had a lot to do with it as well, because I struggled with the binge eating off and on like for years. And even after I got over it, like sometimes I would still slip back into it for a little bit. But once I fully went off of birth control, it stopped completely.
Wow.
So yeah. So I think that definitely had something to do with it.
Yeah, and also what I'm noticing is that it's how do we deal with change in our life? You know, when things are happening, when there's stress outwardly around us, it's our ability to be able to handle that stress. Obviously, the birth control had a whole bunch to do with it.
Yeah.
But also the changes that happen in our life, you know, how we deal with that stress can sometimes, you know, and I certainly have moments, and I'm sure you do too, Rachel, where shit gets stressful, life is full on, and it's so easy to want to slip back into a really unresourceful way of dealing with it.
Yeah, definitely.
How
Yeah, like for sure. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I just want to like eat the house.
yeah, leave the house, yeah. I think that's also encouraging that in our, certainly in our Western culture, with Hollywood movies and stuff. You know, you see like what happens in every chick flick when a girl gets dumped by her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like literally, their girlfriends come around with a block of chocolate and a tub of ice cream. Like we're literally taught that that's a really effective way to deal with our
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's like, yeah, it's so true. But all it does is just make you feel so much worse.
Yeah, and I think that there's a time and a place. So I've had to come to, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about this, because I've had to come to a place where it's okay, as you said before, like it's okay to eat a donut. Like like there's no bad food. It's just how does it make me feel? So on a regular basis, vegetables make me feel great. That's
Yeah.
really good for me. That's how I nourish myself. But sometimes my soul needs nourishing, and sometimes my soul needs a donut.
Yeah.
How do you kind of go through that around going, well, you know what, sometimes there's certain foods that aren't everyday foods, but foods that sometimes your soul needs, or sometimes your social part of you needs?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like I mostly try to eat like foods that make me feel my best.
Yeah.
But yeah, like sometimes when you want something, like you just want something and you need it. And sometimes if you don't, like just give yourself a little bit of something, like once in a while, like you're going to rebel. That's when you're going to rebel and feel restricted.
Yeah.
And that's when you're going to overdo it. You'll finally give in, eat it, and then you'll eat, instead of eating 1 or 2 cookies, you'll eat a dozen, because you didn't just let yourself have the one when you really felt like you needed it.
100%. I think it's the denying of the thing that makes us then get a little bit compulsive around it. It's like, well, have the damn cookie. Like,
and then don't feel guilty about it.
Yeah. And you know what, there are times certainly in my recovery where I was like, I needed to eat the whole bag and deal with it. Like I needed to you know, have a binge and process what I'd done, rather than deny it by purging it up or by just beating myself up. I needed to process it and go, okay, well, that's what I did, and I need to take the responsibility for my actions and go, now I feel like shit, deal with it.
Yeah, that's so true. Like when I was recovering, when I was like in the depths of my recovering from anorexia, yeah, I would binge and stuff sometimes, just because like your body, like as you start eating like normal amounts of food again, it has to like learn to retrust you. Yeah. And so like sometimes you have to go and just have like a binge when you're recovering, because your body needs to know like it can get all it wants. Just like let it do its thing for a while. And if you're binging for a while, it's not a big deal, because your body's trying to put weight back on maybe that it needs. And it's also just trying to know that like you're not going to go starving it again. But like once you just keep eating, eventually the binging will stop, because your body will be like, okay, like I trust you now.
Yeah. It's interesting that you come up with that, because I definitely feel that for many, many years, I had a complete disconnect between my body and myself. So I didn't trust it, and it didn't trust me. And you've obviously talked about that your body didn't trust you, but I also take it that you didn't trust it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was scared to death. I thought like anything I put in it would cause me to gain like 1,000,000 pounds. And yeah, I totally didn't trust it. And that's probably why it started rebelling on me, and my health started getting so bad to where it's at now, is because I didn't trust it for so long.
Yeah. How do you think that you've built that trust? Obviously, you know, starting to eat again and stuff, but I also think that there's an emotional connection there of trust to the body. How have you done it? Well, how are you still doing it, probably?
Yeah, patience, and like a lot of time, and just like taking things slow. Like you just have to ease into it. So like for me, like I just slowly eased into like trusting again, like okay, instead of just going and eating completely like a normal person again right away, I eased into it. I just started eating like, okay, I'll eat a little bit more for dinner than normal. And then like eventually I was able to see like, okay, like nothing bad's happening here. I'm not dying. I'm not like gaining 500 pounds overnight. Like there's nothing to be worried about. And then like also like meditation really helped, because you have to go like inward to trust yourself. You need to like find, like you need to get reconnected with yourself again, and people don't take the time to do that. You need like quiet time and like silence. If you're constantly on the go all the time and like never stopping and just like being in the present and like just having a moment of quiet time, like you're never going to be able to reflect and make these connections with yourself.
It's so true. I think that part of the reason, you know, if people suffer from eating disorders or not, if you have low self-worth, then part of it is that you don't spend enough time with yourself. You don't. There's a complete disconnect, not only from the body but from the self. You don't know who you are, and so you can't trust yourself in general, let alone just your body, because there's no time or space to actually sit down and face yourself. Because it's really scary. Facing yourself and facing your demons is really scary. How do you think that you've gone over the years? Because you've had to go inward and face the demons inside of yourself. How's that journey been for you?
How's that? It's been hard.
Yeah.
Very, very hard. Like, yeah, I've had many a days where I'm like on the ground, like crying and yelling at the sky.
Yep. Yeah.
Because yeah, it's incredibly difficult, but that's just part of it. Is like it's going to be painful. Like it will be painful. That is just part of it.
How did you know, I suppose, and maybe you didn't at the time, but how do you know now that all that pain was worth it? Because look, I coach people, and often I talk about the fact that we have to face our pain, and we don't want to. We don't want to be lying on the ground, bawling our eyes out, screaming at the sky. That's very uncomfortable. People don't want to do that. But for those people, but to me, pain is our greatest teacher. We learn everything that we can possibly need to know through our pain. That's where the gold is. So how do you know now, or how did you know back then that it might be worth it to get through to the other side?
Well, like they say, you know, pain makes you stronger. And I didn't know for sure, like I would come out on the other side. It was basically like just trusting the universe that it would work. And I looked back on my life and said, I've gone through all of these things in the past already that were painful, and I'm better for them. So like I can do this too. Like if I could do it then, why can't I do it now?
Yeah, good point. I suppose it's about having those reference points of where you've already done it. And I often say to my clients, it's like, it's a funny question, but I say, have you survived everything in your life up until now? And of course they say yes, because I'm talking to them. They're here. And I say, so, you know, it's likely that you're going to survive what's coming up now, what you're experiencing.
Exactly.
You will survive it.
Yep. It's a learning. What I tell myself, like, is like, I'm in training for my future. Like right now I'm in training, and like all of this pain and stuff, I'm learning from it, and I'm going to be using that later in life to help others and stuff like that. So it's just like you got to think of it in a positive way. Like, yeah, it's painful, but like it's actually helping you. One of my like favorite quotes is, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you.
I love
And
that quote. It's amazing.
yeah, that's something I say to myself in my head all the time, like when I'm struggling, and it makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah, because I would love to know. I'd love to know when you have those moments of self-doubt, those moments of wanting to relapse, or those moments of whatever, those moments of pain where perhaps the brain, the ego, the thoughts get carried away. I know that that's probably one of the biggest things that people struggle with, is the voices inside of our heads. That's obviously one of the things that you do to be able to help you bounce back, use quotes and stuff. What else do you do to sort of, what do you do when shit gets tough and you're mentally not as strong as what perhaps you'd like to be?
Well, I have a couple things. I meditate. I meditate every day, and that just helps me to be able to control my thoughts.
Yeah.
So I'm able to like catch myself when I'm thinking a thought like, oh, I feel fat today, or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
Or if I'm like second guessing something I ate, like, oh, should I have ate that? I just I'm able to catch myself.
Yeah.
And then change my thought to something else. And meditation has helped that. Like I wasn't able to do that before I started meditating.
Wow.
So that's something that's really helpful. And then, yeah, I do like affirmations. I'll say things to myself, like I said before, like, this is happening to you. I mean, this is happening for you, not to you. Or like I am safe in the universe, like everyone in my universe loves me and cares about me, things like that, just to like comfort myself. And then visualization of like happy past memories, or like what you want your future to be. All of those things have helped me a lot when I'm like having a moment. Or journaling, also writing has helped a lot.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is that all of your techniques have to do with being able to deal with the mess that's up here.
Yeah, I have to basically express it. I need to express it. I have to acknowledge the feeling and express it in some way, whether it's like talking to someone or writing it or praying. I have to express it somehow.
Yeah.
And then I try to talk myself down from it and like, talk some sense into myself.
Yes, definitely, because what I'm very much hearing is step one is having the awareness of what's going on up here. You're catching yourself, and then step two is then, well, what needs to happen right now? Do you need to go internal and meditate to be able to work through that, or do you need to go external and talk about it, or to journal, or to do whatever happens to do? I suppose the meditation is the thing that helps you catch it, isn't it?
Yeah, and then sometimes even distraction can be a really good tool. A lot of times I say like no to distraction, because you want to be aware of your emotions. But sometimes like with this stuff, distraction can be really helpful, because you can be aware of it and then you can say, okay, like let's focus on something else now, like,
yeah,
and just like watch a funny movie, or do like listen to some music, or cook a meal, or do something that will distract you.
Yeah.
That can be really helpful as well.
Definitely, and I think that distraction. I wouldn't even call it distraction. I would say that that's a conscious choice to choose different thoughts. So
Yeah.
I'm feeling a certain way. Cool. I'm aware of that feeling. If I go watch a funny movie, if I cook a meal, if I go for a walk, then I'm consciously interrupting the pattern of where my thoughts were.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like the old record is playing, and you just go, you know what? I'm going to scratch that, because I don't want to listen to that record anymore. It's old. It doesn't serve me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because like I think some people are worried about like distracting things, because like, oh, well, you don't want to ignore your feelings, but like you can distract yourself without ignoring your feelings. Like you can totally be aware of them and acknowledge them, and then say, okay, I'm moving on from this. Like this isn't serving me.
And that's when it becomes empowerment, because you're conscious of the feelings. You've looked at the feelings. You decided that you want to do something different. So you've actually changed the.
Yeah. Very empowering.
Yeah. Do you have, and maybe it's a soundbite, but in terms of meditation, I know that a lot of people struggle with it. They don't necessarily know how to do it, or they think that sitting down and the thoughts going crazy, it is not normal. Can you share a bit of experience? Yeah, I know, right? Share a bit of your experience about meditation and maybe what techniques you use, or also rather, how do you keep the thoughts from going crazy?
Yeah, well, when you're meditating, like the first time I tried meditating, I could seriously only do it for about 2 minutes. Like I sat down and I was freaking out, like crawling out of my skin. I was like, I cannot do this.
Yep.
I just went nuts. I slowly built it up, just like an extra 30 seconds, like every couple days. I would just add on another 30 seconds. I did it really slowly, but your mind is going to go wild. And like a lot of people think that meditation means like clearing your mind of all thoughts, but that's really not possible, because your mind is always going. So it's like you try to just focus on something. So like you can focus on your breath, and like count your breaths going in and out. Or you can I like to listen to meditations that have binaural beats. Okay. And it's like kind of it's like sound added, and you use it with earbuds, and like the binaural beats actually like affect your brain waves and help to calm you more. And I like those because the sounds are very soothing. Like a lot of them are like naturey sounds, like the wind blowing through the trees. So I like those. And when I'm meditating, I like to focus on the sounds. And I'll just picture myself like sitting in a field somewhere with the wind blowing through the trees. And like I'll just focus on that. And you're going to find that your mind wanders constantly. Like every couple of seconds, yes. I find I'm thinking about something else, and then you just redirect your thought and go, nope, and you bring yourself back to like what you're focusing on. And that's what trains you, so that in the day-to-day life, when you are having like a negative thought, you can catch it and then change it, because that's what you're doing in meditation. You're basically just practicing.
It's so true. And I think that one of the big myths around meditation is that you sit there and you're not meant to have any thoughts. And certainly I would think that the masters of meditation, who meditate 15 hours a day for 12 years or longer, they probably do get to a point where they can sit down and have a clear mind. But for the regular people, it's the practice of bringing your thoughts back constantly.
Yep. Yeah, and sometimes I can get myself into this like Zen state. It doesn't happen super often, but when it does, you will know it, because like you feel like this weird calm like feeling come over you. Like I can't even explain it, but it feels so good.
And then before you know it, you think, oh my God, I'm in the Zen state.
Yeah, and then it goes away.
It's gone.
Yeah. The second I get so excited. I'm like, oh my God, I feel it. Like I'm in it. And then I'm like, oh shoot, no, now it's gone because I just thought that.
You just thought it. That's exactly right. The second you're consciously aware of the fact that you're there, it's gone. You're like,
yep, that is so funny.
So for those people listening and watching at home, try meditation, and like with Rachel said, like do it for 2 minutes to start off with. Where are you at now? You've obviously built it up 30 seconds, maybe every day or whatever.
Yeah. How long? I do about 20 minutes twice a day.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and right now I'm doing more like an hour a day because of like some extra stuff I'm doing for my health treatment. So it's more like an hour a day because I'm adding in like extra just like visualization time, which is still like, for me, it like works my mind just like meditation. It's just as like calming and So yeah.
Just the way you need to go.
Yeah, but even like 5 or 10 minutes a day is like so helpful.
Yep. And I just find sometimes when I'm particularly stressed and I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do right now. I'm stressed. Sometimes I just need to go sit. I just need to go sit down and meditate. And my mind might be going absolutely insane. And it may not be a good meditation, but it's just like, it's better than me trying to clean the house again to
Yeah.
thoughts, you know, like it just
Yeah.
stay calm.
Yeah, and recently I heard something that I thought was such a good idea for beginners meditating. Like, if you don't feel comfortable like officially meditating, what you can do is just like sit down for like 10 to 20 minutes and sit there and do nothing.
Yes.
Don't allow yourself to do anything. Don't turn music on, have no noise. Just sit on like your couch or on your bed in silence and just let your mind think about whatever it's going to think for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And like that is like a good starter.
Definitely. Very confronting because
Yeah.
and particularly, you know, we're used to having a phone in our hand.
Yeah.
So often it's like, oh God, I need to be stimulated in some way. So it's very.
Yeah.
Do you have any? You're saying that you're listening to your beats and stuff. Do you have any apps that you use, or any, like, is there anybody that you follow in terms of meditation channels or something that people could?
Yeah. Well, there are two apps that I use starting out. One of them is called Headspace.
Yep.
And then there's another app called Calm. And both of those are really great, like, meditation apps, especially like when you're starting out. And then I discovered a podcast on iTunes. It's called The Meditation Podcast.
Nice.
And they are amazing. And so I just go download those like every week.
Yep.
And put them on my iPod, and those are the ones with the binaural beat sounds, and they have different meditations for like all different kinds of things too. So like they have like a money meditation, so like if you're feeling like worried about money, and or like one to help you fall asleep, and they have all kinds of them. So, and then they have different length ones too, so you can do like 5 minutes or you can do like 30.
Cool. Lots of variety.
Yeah.
So what do you believe about yourself now? Obviously, you've gone through a lot of moments of not believing in yourself and not having the self-worth and confidence. Where's your belief set at now?
That I am way stronger than I ever thought I was.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah. 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 And like, I'm like, I believe I'm a good person now, and like that I'm making a difference and like contributing. And before, I never felt those things about myself. I really didn't have any self-worth.
Yeah. I think that's interesting you say about contribution, because when I spent all my life worrying about how much I weighed or what I looked like, I had no time or energy to be able to give back to anybody in any capacity. Like, even though I put everyone else's needs first, there was no actual meaning in my life, because I was, for 15 years on my goal list every single year was to lose weight,
Yeah.
And that was the biggest goal that I was striving for in my life. Like, was to be skinnier. That was my dream.
Yeah.
And, when I was able to let go of that as a goal, so to speak, now I can have big dreams that are actually useful.
Yeah. Yeah. You can focus on other things.
Yeah, like all of a sudden you now can focus on a bigger picture in your life, opposed to just, well, this body of mine getting smaller.
Yep. Yeah. Like, my life has opened up in so many ways since I just like stopped caring about that. It's amazing.
That's fantastic. So your life has opened up in many ways. What do you reckon, so the people, listening that perhaps need more confidence, they're not believing in themselves enough, what kind of advice might you give them to be able to, a hot tip to be able to help them to become more of who they are?
You just fake it till you make it, really. That's what I did. I did not feel confident at all at first. But I started, like, I just kind of forced myself to feel confident. Like, I would just go out there and put myself in situations where I was uncomfortable. Like,
Nice.
Going out and doing something with a large group of people, or for example, like wearing a crop top out in public. Like,
Yep.
that was terrifying for me. And like terrifying. Or like putting a bikini on out in public, that was also terrifying. And then like eventually you like, when you challenge your fears like that, like you realize like, what was I so worried about? And like it really does build your confidence, because you realize like, wow, what was I so concerned about? Like there's nothing wrong with me.
Yes. Yeah. And I love that. I often I don't necessarily like the term fake it till you make it, and I don't actually think that that's what you did. And forgive me, fake it till you make it to me is like you're pretending to be somebody else.
Yeah.
Often this feeling of, well, the real me isn't good enough. But I don't think you did that. From what you just explained to me, what you did was you faced your fears. So,
Yeah.
so you put yourself into situations where you were uncomfortable, the things that were holding you back, you decided that you were going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Even if you felt uncomfortable. So you weren't pretending to be comfortable, so to speak. You just did it despite being uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did not feel confident. I guess what I was faking, like the confidence, because I was pretending I felt confident in my crop top, but I wasn't. But eventually the confidence came. Like I just pretended I felt confident a couple times, and then before I knew it, I was confident.
Yeah, you almost need to act in the way that you want to feel.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, like often is like, well, what would somebody who is courageous do? What would somebody who believed in themselves do? What would somebody who had confidence do right now? Well, they'd put on the crop top and go out and not give a shit about the crop top. They would just.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
I can't finish our podcast and our conversation here today without knowing about your fear of flour. You put it in there, so I gotta know. Tell me about this fear of flour.
About my fear of flour.
Flour, yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah, like just like I don't know what it is. I've had it since I was a child.
Wow.
I like used to bake with my grandmother, and I couldn't touch the flour. I still can't touch the flour. Like the sound of it on a cutting board, being rubbed on a cutting board, like she would, dust the cutting board with flour before she'd roll out the dough. Yeah. And like the sound of that, oh my God, it makes my skin crawl. I can't touch it. I can't even be like on a beach with really fine sand, like that powder sand. I can't have that touch my feet, because it's just like the sensation, like with like some people, it's like nails on a chalkboard. For me, it's like flour. I can't touch it.
My weird neuroticism like that is wet toilet paper. So wet tissue or wet toilet paper.
Oh.
It just grosses me out. It just I can't feel. So if I'm at a restaurant and the napkin gets wet because somebody's me over, I'm like broken.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it just like gives you the heebie-jeebies.
It just gives me the heebie-jeebies. So I feel ya. I would love to know if you could go back in time and give your younger self any piece of advice, what advice would it be, and when would you give it?
I would give it to myself like at a very young age. I've always been a worrier my whole life, and I would just tell myself to stop worrying, because everything always works out. It always has. And every time something happens, I'll panic and think, oh my God, like the world is ending or whatever. And everything always works out, no matter how like bad it looks right now. Like it's always going to work out, and like everything is always okay.
Perfect. Oh my God. And you'd give that quite young.
Yes. Yeah. I would need to hear that at like probably like 8 years old.
Yep. In those formative years. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do. I want to just know one more thing. Who do you follow? So in terms of like books that you read, you mentioned that you kind of got into personal development, you were reading books and stuff. Who inspires you? Who do you follow that perhaps people don't necessarily know of, that you would want to give a shout out to them in the books that you read and stuff?
Ooh, for like books or?
Well, books, yeah. Like what books do you read or have read that have really helped you in your recovery, in changing your life? And also, who do you follow now on maybe on social or around the world.
Okay. Yeah. So it's like some books like You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. Like that one is very good. I'm trying to think like The Universe Has Your Back by Gaby Bernstein. That one was
I haven't read it yet.
very helpful. And then what is his name? Mike Dooley.
Yeah.
I think his name is Mike Dooley. He's an author. He has tons of amazing books that are extremely helpful.
Ooh.
And then like for podcasts, like when I was in recovery, I would listen to like the Mind Body Musings podcast. That one, it's not so much about it's really not what it used to be. It's not so much about recovery or anything like that anymore. But if you go back into the old episodes, those are very helpful. And then for like, just like now, like what I listen to for podcasts, there's like the Good Life Project. That one is really great and inspiring. Or anything with like anything done by Sean Croxton. He's super, super inspiring.
Fantastic. Well, I'll make sure all those go into the show notes, so that for those of you listening or watching at home, you can click on the links and go look at those books and those podcasts and whatever. Thank you so much, Rachel. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today.
Yeah, I had fun.
Your afternoon, but yeah, like really thank you. Before we shoot off, I do want you to tell me a bit more about Love My Middle. What do you do? You know, do you want to like where can we get in touch with you and how can you help people?
Yeah, so I have my Instagram. It started out with my Instagram at Love My Middle, and eventually I turned it into a blog. It's still which I'm posting on now like weekly. It's still like a little bit messy. I'm still working on like making it pretty, but it's still got good like posts up, so you can follow me there at lovemymiddle.com. And eventually I hope to do a podcast. That's like my dream for the future.
Fantastic. So lovemymiddle.com, we can check out your blogs, at lovemymiddle on Instagram. Absolutely fantastic content on Instagram. I certainly follow you myself, Rachel. So thank you so very much. Go check out Rachel's stuff. She's an absolute inspiration, particularly through you know, anorexia and eating disorder recovery. Thank you so much, Rachel, for being on Katie's Couch today. I so very much look forward to seeing your journey, and we'll connect with you very soon.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed today's podcast and YouTube show. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here. Thank you for your attention and thank you for your eyes and ears. Hope that you got a lot out of it today. If you do know anybody, or if you yourself have an amazing story of confidence and self-worth, I'd love to hear from you. Just email loveyourself@moreconfidence.com.au. I will get that email immediately. I'll be in touch and we can see if we can get you onto Katie's Couch. Talk to you then.
Katie on the couch.